Hi everyone, thank you for checking out this video. So this video is basically how to remove a turbo from a 2016 and a half to 2019 Chevy Cruze. The footage found in this video was removed from my Big Turbo playlist. So the Big Turbo playlist can be found on my Dave's World YouTube channel. If you would like a more in-depth explanation of how to do a big turbo and the upgrades involved on a 2016 up Chevy Cruze, I will put a link in the description for that playlist. But I figured I would take a couple of the key things out of that playlist to at least help you change the turbo in your car if you're not doing a big turbo. First things first, you want to remove whatever intake system you have mounted to your turbo. Then you have to remove all of the heat shields that surround the turbo so you can get to all of the mounting bolts and the exhaust bolts that are mounted to the back of the turbocharger. Also make sure that you remove any connectors or wire harnesses that may be in the way. After you do that, you're going to have to remove the charge pipe off of the turbocharger leading down to your intercooler system. The side of the turbocharger has a breather built into it. You need a special tool to remove the line, but you can just remove the Allen head bolt holding the valve in place and the whole thing will pull right out. After you do that, make sure you remove the drain bolts underneath the turbocharger. After you remove the drain bolts underneath the turbocharger, you're going to have to remove any brackets that are mounted to the exhaust system, and you're going to also want to remove the clamp holding the downpipe / catalytic converter, depending on what you have on your car. Once you remove those, you're going to want to remove the 4 bolts on the flange that hold the turbocharger to the cylinder head. Make sure you put something underneath the car to catch all of your antifreeze. What I chose to do, instead of draining the entire cooling system, I removed the 2 lines going to the turbo and just let the antifreeze leak out of the turbocharger at the turbo. That way I only had to replace about maybe a half gallon of fluid instead of replacing the coolant in the entire system. Side note, if you do it this way, it'll prevent the engine from being airbound. Once you've drained all the coolant, removed all the bolts and wire harnesses, you should be able to remove the turbo from the engine bay. The next thing you want to do is get it on a bench and start swapping every key component from your old turbo onto the new turbocharger. One additional thing I wanted to let everyone know is make sure, if you're using your original wastegate, that the wastegate itself works properly, because I've seen people change a turbo, reuse their original wastegate, and then have a problem with the new turbo because the wastegate is bad. Alright, the next thing I need to do is, let's get this ridiculous gasket out. So this gasket is also the heat shield for the turbo. I don't know why they designed it this way, but I don't know. I guess bending it out of the way was part of the process for them. Once the turbocharger is in place, you're going to want to torque the turbocharger nuts. It gets done in 3 passes. Your first pass is 11 foot-pounds, your second pass is 15 foot-pounds, and then your third pass is 60 degrees of torque angle. Okay everyone, I'm just going to pause the video here so I could explain torque angle. Imagine the bolt as a 360 degree graph. Basically 0 degrees and 360 degrees are in the same spot, because where you start and end are always going to happen at the same spot when you're going 360 degrees. But then what's going to happen is, if you imagine the bolt as a graph, you'll start realizing that each point of the bolt is a different degree mark. And when you rotate the points on the bolt, you'll know basically what degree you're at. Now, if the flat spots on the bolt or the points on the bolt do not line up in an exact spot, you could always put a little mark on the bolt. Then what you want to do is rotate the bolt clockwise, and you're going to rotate whatever mark or point on the bolt from 0 to whatever mark lines up on your visual graph. The turbocharger is looking for a 60 degree torque angle. Imagine for a minute, instead of looking at the head of a bolt, that you're actually looking at the face of a clock. You're basically going to move one of those marks or one of those points on the bolt from the 9 o'clock mark to the 11 o'clock mark, and this should give you about 60 degrees of angle when you're rotating those nuts or bolts. Okay, what I want to do is prime the turbo. I just tried running the car or cranking the car by removing the fuses for the injectors, and the car would not crank. So once I put the fuses back in, it did crank. So what I want to do is I'm going to disconnect the harness to the injectors. And what I want to do is I want to crank the engine without letting it start. And I want to get oil pressure from the engine to actually prime the turbo. You never want to start a brand new turbo dry. I did pour some oil in there previously, but just in case, I would like to get some oil pressure primed through this turbo. So I'm going to disconnect this harness and then we'll crank. What I want to do is crank for about 15 seconds, pause for 30 seconds, and then crank for another 15 seconds. In the video, it might not look like it's that long, but that's what you should at least do at a minimum. Okay, good. I don't see any leaks. I mean, the engine's not running yet, but at least I don't see anything right now. We're obviously going to check for leaks after we get the engine running. Are you looking for performance parts for your first generation or second generation Cruze? Check out supercruises.com today so you could order your parts directly from me.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.